You can't talk about the history of the country music we love without mentioning bluegrass. That's right, bluegrass music. With its haunting melodies, great storytelling, and the most incredible musicianship you've ever heard, it's not only one of the most respected styles of music of the past, but it's also incredibly popular in today's hit songs. Without bluegrass, country music simply wouldn't be what it is today. And when you gather together some of the most respected pickers and singers in the bluegrass world and have them sit a spell and share stories and songs, well, that sounds like a slice of heaven to me. Hosted by bluegrass legend Ricky Skaggs and Opry star Bill Anderson, this amazing gathering is unlike anything you've ever seen before or ever will again. Because the bluegrass legends of yesterday gathering with some of the stars of today doesn't happen very often. Quite simply, this is a once-in-a-lifetime get-together of bluegrass greatness. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Simply Bluegrass.
Country's Family Reunion, a very special bluegrass edition. You can tell this ain't the band that's here on a lot of the family reunion shows, but you guys are fantastic. Playing our theme song, Family Reunion, right there. What a great day we're going to have. We're in Nashville, Tennessee in November of 2013. It's cold outside. Everybody's bundled up good. It's going to be plenty warm in here, though, with a lot of wonderful roots music, Americana music, kind of lumped under the name of bluegrass music. Simply Bluegrass is the name of the show. I don't know how simple it's going to be, but it's bluegrass, and we're glad that you're with us. Glad everybody is here. They've assigned me a co-pilot for this particular edition of Country's Family Reunion, a man that knows a whole lot more about bluegrass than just about anybody, and I know he knows a lot more than I know, and it's going to really be fun to have him here to kind of bounce things off of, and I know you want to make him welcome. One of the great bluegrass performers and personalities of the day. You can see he got his car here. Welcome, Mr. Ricky Skaggs.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, sir. Thank you.
This is going to be a lot of fun. You guide me over all the rough spots, all right?
Well, you call me a co-pilot. I've crashed a few. I have, yeah.
I've crashed a few times without a co-pilot. So, but man, this is going to be fun. This should be right at home for you, this kind of music.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've done quite a few of the country family reunions, but I really have had a heart to see a bluegrass family reunion come together, because there's so many of my heroes here tonight that I really wanted to honor and wanted to have with us, and it's going to be a ball. We're going to have a big time.
Well, thanks for inviting them, and thank y'all for coming, and start us off with some music.
All right then, boys.
On my mind, blue night, I can't keep from crying. You met someone that was due, you quit someone that you knew was true. Blue night, I got you on my mind. I don't know what's become of me. Where we used to walk, I walk alone with an aching heart because my love is gone. Blue night, blue as I can be. Yep. Call you on the telephone. I used to call and it made you glad. Now I call, it just makes you mad. Blue night, 'cause I'm all alone. Myself, that you put me on that shelf. That's just one thing you must know, you're gonna reap just what you sow. Blue night, all by myself. Blue night, all by myself.
Skaggs. All right, you told me, I think yesterday, you said that's an old Bill Monroe song?
Yeah, Mr. Monroe recorded it in the 60s. But Kurt McGee wrote it, Sam and Kirk,
really?
From sunny Tennessee.
Yeah.
Sam and Kirk McGee. Yeah, Kurt wrote that. I'm not sure what year that he wrote it, but Mr. Monroe cut it in the 60s. One of the great bands he had in the 60s, Peter Rowan, Lamar Greer, fiddle player. Richard Green. Good Lord. That was amazing, amazing players.
What kind of a guitar was that you were picking?
It's a PRS, Paul Reed Smith, and it's powerful. right there. Hey, Dale.
On a day like this. Of course, you play everything. You play mandolin, you play guitar, you play fiddle. I guess you can play anything with strings on it. How many different instruments did you bring to the family reunion today?
I brought 2 guitars, a mandolin, and a fiddle.
That's just 4.
That's all I get in the car.
Well, that is kind of a small car.
Yeah, that is a small car. You know, me and Uncle Dave, we went all the way to California in that car right there, and Uncle Dave brought him a country ham. He had to have ham every morning for breakfast, and he'd take that ham with him. Careful.
Is there anybody in this room that does not do an impression of Bill Monroe?
He's the most imitated guy, I guess, in the world. In the world of bluegrass, I'll put it that way.
Why do you think that is?
He was so funny. I mean, he didn't think he was a bit funny, but he was funny. He was hilarious. And, well, just talking about the ham thing, you know, I know Alan O'Brien, Nashville Bluegrass Band, back years ago before I guess the band even started, he come on the bus and saw Mr. Monroe one time, and Bill was hungry, you know, and couldn't find anything to eat, and Alan said, "Oh, I've got some old, you know, country ham biscuits that my mom made me. They're a couple of days old, you know." But he said, "Boy, you bring me them biscuits, you know you can't hurt ham." Now, can't hurt ham. I mean, think about that. You can't hurt ham. So,
Didn't you write a song or something about
me
that?
and Gordon Kennedy, we said it's too much of a great story not to write it, so we wrote it.
There are as many Bill Monroe stories, almost, Ramona, as there are Grandpa Jones stories. I don't know how many of them are true, but they're great stories that have been handed down through the years.
And we miss them.
And they make us smile.
Yes, they do. And Sharon was talking this morning. She said she had Bill Harrell on her mind so strong today, you know, and
Never think about him.
yeah,
I did today.
And I think, you know, people like Mr. Monroe and Grandpa and people that we've loved for so long, I think, you know, I think today, yeah, and Josh and people like that that's gone on, and I just think that they're happy that we're all together, you know, playing and talking, and our friendships are still good, you know, and I think that's pleasing to them.
And carrying the music on. Now,
Yes.
do you feel like, I've heard you talk about this a little bit, do you feel like it's kind of almost your duty to carry on Mr. Monroe's legacy, to kind of be the leader of the parade in bluegrass music?
I don't think I'm any more important doing that than any of us. I think we all have you know, if we love the music, we all have a heart to do it. You know, it's really the heart. It's not necessarily a job, or, you know, it's kind of an adventure sometimes. But you know, I think it's as much you know. I mean, you could call it a duty, but, you know, I don't ever look at it as a duty. I look at it as an honor to get to carry, you know, his music, and, you know, Lester and Earl, and, you know, the Stanleys and Flatt and Skaggs. Those 3 bands are really the bands that solidified the music that we all built on after that, you know. It was Bill when Lester and Earl joined the band. You know, I mean, that's where Lester and Earl met, was in Monroe's band, because Lester had already been with Monroe for a little while, and they were honing their duet up, and it was so great, you know. And I got a publicity picture of just Lester and Bill together. You know, it's an old publicity picture, an old black and white thing. But when Earl came into the scene, you know, that's really when, you know, when the sparks flew and the explosion happened, you know. The DNA was complete, you know.
And year-wise, we're talking, what, the late 40s?
December of 45 was when Earl came into the band, and they didn't really record till, I guess, around maybe August, September of, Kyle would maybe know that exact date.
It was September of the next year that they recorded.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, it was like, if you figure, you know, it's almost like 9 months, you know. It took that kind of time to birth, you know, a new music and a new sound, and it was really a new sound. I mean, you know, a lot of people complain, a lot of the purists anyway, complain about any kind of new elements coming into bluegrass at all. It's like, you know, don't do that, you know. And I've always tried to be my hands out this way, not up that way, you know. Hey, come on in. Let's, you know, you're not going to change the love I have for the foundations of the music. But come on in. It's for everybody. Mr. Monroe used to say, "My music's for everybody. It's for all the nations." So yes, sir, it is.
The voice that you heard speaking up from across the circle over here, I want to mention Kyle Cantrell, who is the guy behind the Bluegrass Junction channel on Sirius XM radio. I know most of you guys have done interviews with him. You've know him, and Kyle, we just like Ricky just did, we're going to kind of lean on you for a lot of the facts and figures and your knowledge that you've absorbed.
Historian in residence.
Well, they ought not let people like me on TV, but you make a great point there on that last thing you just said, Ricky, because I couldn't help but think. Recently, I had you and Bruce Hornsby on my show, where these guys have done an album together, and it is fantastic. Now, who would have thought 20, 30 years ago that Bruce Hornsby would be anything in bluegrass music? But thanks to the openness of people like Ricky Skaggs, I'm sitting next to a gentleman right here who has made tremendous inroads into bluegrass music coming from a different place, and he loves it. I had Alan Jackson on recently. I had a listener tell me just this week how great it is to hear these people taking the news of bluegrass music out into a broader world. I think that's really great. The
guy sitting next to you is Dirk Bentley, by the way. Dirk, great to have you here. Great to have everybody. You're talking about moving it on and embracing new people and holding your... I want to say one thing. Excuse me. I got off track. Sharon.
Yes, sir.
You just made the greatest comment. Just before we started, she said, "You can tell this is a room full of bluegrass pickers and singers because everybody's holding their instrument. They're in their lap.
Holding it close.
They may be afraid somebody's going to steal it. I don't know. But golly, if you feel like picking up and playing along at any point, do it. We did that on the early country family reunion shows, and then we kind of got away from it.
Mac has something to say.
Yes, Mac.
Well, I was sitting here reminiscing as Ricky was talking there and had a million memories about the older days you're talking about. I first came here at the Opry with Bill Monroe in '49, and was a pleasure to work with him. And in 1948, when Lester and Earl left Bill, they called me to be part of them. I didn't know why they wanted me, but they did.
Oh, you did great.
So I joined them. I was one of the original Smoky Mountain Boys, and made their first recording session with you. We'll meet again, sweetheart.
That's right.
God love His children.
Yes.
And I did the last session that Bill did with Columbia. I was beginning to think I wasn't going to get to record with him because he was on the outs with Columbia, and Decca wanted him, but they had owed him one session before they let him go. So Can't You Hear Me Callin? And Traveler's Lonesome Road.
Oh, my goodness. That's
Did you
great
realize
stuff.
in that first session, those early days with Fratt and Skaggs, did you realize that you weren't just making music, that you was making history? I mean, did the impact of it hit you then?
I really did. I don't know as much whether I was stronger in belief of it then as I am now, but to me it was a great opportunity, and it'd been nothing like it, before. Lester was so creative with writing songs, and we just fit together like a glove, and I enjoyed it so much. And it's like I worked with Molly O'Day in 1946 and things like that, You mentioned at Country Ham a while ago.
You gotta have it.
But Uncle Dave Macon was just as much of a ham eater as anybody, and I worked a lot of shows with Uncle Dave Macon on this show, and Kirk McGee, as you mentioned a while ago.
That's right.
And
I got my Uncle Dave boots on today. So I love Uncle Dave.
Why do you call him your Uncle Dave boots?
Well, they're just old work boots. Is what they are. They're Wolverines, but they're work boots, and they're comfortable. And I loved seeing Uncle Dave in those pictures. And he'd either be barefooted and have them shoes sitting beside his chair, and that banjo, or he'd have them on. They were just so cool, I thought. And he was out busting clods with them, out plowing, and then he'd wipe them off and go on stage with them.
Let me say how honored we
Mac.
all are to have Mac Wiseman. One of the great human beings in this world. And funny. Let me tell you something. One night, he and I were traveling together, and we went up into the Northeast, and we went over to a disc jockey's house between shows on a Sunday. Did a matinee, and he invited us over for dinner, and then we went back to do the night show. We've all done that. And he had a guitar in his room, this disc jockey did, in the room where we were all gathered. And I said, Mac, is there any song that you don't know? I said, let me just call out some songs. Because, I mean, this man knows I sat there for an hour. I could not stump you. You knew every song from the baggage coach ahead to the little rosewood casket and things that go back all those years.
Well,
What a mind and memory you've got for that.
Well, I do have great recall. I just finished a book and went back
Oh, goodness.
Awesome.
from the day I was born to up to now, you know.
Christmas gift, Mom.
And,
On the list.
yeah, I saw where you scooped me. But I love those old story songs, Granny's old armchair and things like that. I listened to the radio when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I remember where we were living is the reason I can pinpoint the years that I enjoyed that, you know.
Before this visit's over, I'm liable to get Ronnie Reno to pick up that guitar. We're liable to turn you loose on a bunch of those old songs because we'd all love to hear them. We're all, ain't a person in here is not a Mac Wiseman fan.
Well, thank you. I just recorded 34 sides, Jesse McReynolds and I, just the two of us. And, those old songs, just
Good to see
for
you
preservation.
slow down, man.
Yeah. He said, Doyle said, it's good to see that you've slowed down a little bit.
Cutting back.
Well, I seem like I'm hogging the show. I don't mean to do that, but I've recorded over 800 songs. And to this day, just about all of them are still in print with the Bear family and yeah.
I saw a bunch of them at the Ernest Tubb record shop not long ago when I was in there.
Yeah, and I'm very pleased about that. That it's still in. YouTube's got about 30 pages of me on
Oh,
that.
that's great. Here's a great Monroe story. They had Mr. Monroe on a panel, CMA, or I don't know what it was exactly, but the guy was the Steppenwolf. You know, was on the panel, and Rodney Crowell and our good buddy Steppenwolf, and as Lester comes, sorry, and so anyway, they were talking about the music industry and all kind of stuff, how it changed and everything, and here Mr. Monroe was, you know, sitting there kind of dawdling off. He's really interested, and anyway, they were talking about how many records they had sold, you know, and so they asked John, you know, with Steppenwolf, said how many records show? Oh, it's, you know, probably, you know, 35, 40 million, something like that, you know. And so they asked this next one, you know, and he said, oh, yeah, way up in the millions, you know. And got to Rodney, and he said something. They got to Mr. Monroe, how many records you believe you've sold in your life? He said, well, you know, I don't know, but it's a way on up there.
And it was.
It was a way on up there.
Talking about opening out to new talent, we got a couple of guys here that have just won, I guess, every award that they give from
so
the
proud of them
International
guys.
Bluegrass Music Association, and glad to have you guys here.
Thank you.
And from up in the northeastern part of the country. They're not from down here like most all of us are. Say hello to the Gibson Brothers.
Yeah.
Now, are you in Maine? Is that where you are?
New York.
No, we live in northern New York. I have to say northern New York for the folks back home because they get mad if I say upstate New York.
Yeah.
We're so far north. We're from 2 miles from the Canadian border. We grew up on a dairy farm up there, Ellenberg
Are you
Depot,
up
New
near
York.
Malone? Are you close to
Yeah,
Malone?
yeah,
New York?
close to it.
Okay.
I live 11 miles from Malone.
Yeah. They used to have a big country fair every year in Malone. I bet a lot of people
They
in here
still do.
probably played there. You're right up, right up by the Canadian border. I remember one time I played the fair in Malone, New York, and instead of paying me, the promoter gave me a snowmobile. What are you going to do with a snowmobile in Nashville?
Put some wheels on it.
Make a four-wheeler out of it or something. How about getting some music out of the Gibson boys? They've just been so successful lately. We need to put them to work. Now, Ricky, do you, like, when people are from, a different place, do you guys meet up on the road? Do you do shows together?
Well, we'd love to. They got so dang big here so quick that they just moved right on. I love what the guys are singing. They write most all of their songs, and
great
pretty
writers.
much 90%, 99% probably of all their songs, they write them. And that's one of the things that about 7 years ago, I heard them for the first time and just was so taken by their songwriting, you know. And of course their harmony singing and all was great, but they're really great writers, and they write songs that really work well in this music, you know. And I think that's really one of the signs that this music's really going to live, is that, you know, that people are writing new songs in it. Any kind of genre has to have new music coming into it all the time to sustain. You can't just go over and, you know, redo Uncle Pen, you know, and although I have.
Looks like somebody did.
Yeah, and Mr. Monroe come up to me at the Opry one night, and he said, Ricky, I got a check from Uncle Pen from that song you cut, and boy, it was a powerful check. It just gone #1, you know, a couple of weeks before, and he said, you can record all my songs if you want to.
Well, he was kind of that way when Elvis cut Blue Moon of Kentucky.
If it'll help you, that's what he told. He said, I told Elvis, if it'll help you.
Well, I think it ended up helping
it
them
really
both. Is this
helped.
something you guys wrote?
No.
Oh, great.
Well, that's the way to
Well,
blow
that's the
this whole
1%. I said 99.
This song we're going to do is written by Sean Camp and Loretta Lynn. And it's
two great
we just
songwriters.
recorded it for our latest release, and no, it's not something we wrote. Sorry, Ricky.
That's all right. Yeah, that's the 1%. I like it.
Loneliness falls all around, and it's almost got me down. Well, I guess when it rains, it pours. I'm dying for someone to live for. There's a whippoorwill out on a limb, but I know I'm more lonesome than him. And I don't know who he's crying for. I'm dying for someone to live for. And the weeping willow cries every time a good love says goodbye. I hear the tide coming in on the shore. I'm dying for someone to live for. Is long gone, and I don't know what I've done so wrong. I don't think I can take too much more, 'cause I'm dying for someone to live for. And the weeping willow cries every time a good love says goodbye. I hear the tide coming in on the shore, and I'm dying for someone to live for. I'm dying for someone to live for.
Thank you.
Lee and Eric,
Appreciate that.
Gibson Brothers. Wow,
Bill.
that's powerful.
You know what I'm thinking about? I hadn't thought about it till today, but what they're doing is really bringing back or calling back to the days even before Munn and the Bluegrass band that he put together. I mean, the brother duets and the duet bands
Right.
were
popular
the foundation.
long before
yes.
that. Yeah, that's right.
The Monroe brothers, Blue Sky Boys.
Yeah, Del
The
Morris.
Maynards.
Bill,
It's so old, it's new again,
Yes.
and it's so it's like a breath of fresh air, guys. It
thank
really
you.
is. That's just
And
absolutely
they put on an
terrific.
awesome show.
Yeah, they do.
We worked with them this summer, and we could sure understand why they win the awards, because they get the crowd right in the palm of their hand. They're so entertaining, and it's a real variety of the kind of songs they do. We were just knocked out by you.
Well, we've been knocked out by you for a while. Everybody in this room.
We're
and,
real
yeah.
old.
No, I'm not
Been
saying
knocking,
that, but,
knocking a long
but
time.
it's
You got real good early.
but it's
Well, did you
humbling.
guys just grow up with it? I mean, you think upstate New York, you don't
No.
think that is a hotbed of
You know,
bluegrass music?
there's a lot of fans of country music up there, and my dad was a dairy farmer, and for generations, that's what the Gibsons did. We're just farmers, and just by chance, my father tried to learn to play fiddle and banjo and guitar and couldn't because he was just busy. And there's a college student giving lessons when we were like 11 and 12, and because one of the instruments that the college student could play was banjo, he decided to teach Eric from the Skaggs book, and that.
Awesome.
Getting Flat and Skaggs at Carnegie Hall into Eric's hands when he was 12 or 13 just made it what we thought we wanted to do,
We had some records around the house. The first bluegrass record we had around the house
Yeah, I remember
was
that.
Mac Wiseman and Lester Flatt, the one where you're looking through the
Yeah. Lester and Mac, yeah.
picture frame.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was
That's
called
great.
Over the Hills to the Poorhouse. And Ricky, you were on all over the radio at that
Yeah.
time. And that was a big part of.
And the Whites,
And the Whites, yeah. It was a
They're
good
the
time
only
to grow
ones
up
that aren't
again.
cold today.
Do it, Jerry.
They're the only ones that aren't cold today.
Those ones that aren't cold.
Yeah,
You're right. It's nice outside to them.
You also bring up another thing that kind of is an outsider of the bluegrass community. I respect. Bluegrass people respect their audiences in the way that they dress. And I'm not saying everybody has to wear a coat and tie or a rhinestone suit or whatever, but I think it's a certain amount of respect for your audience. And you guys, you look the part too.
No, thank you.
On the Eddie Stubbs scale, they would get an A+. A+.
I still owe Lee for this tie because I didn't buy it.
No.
He bought the ties. He said, we're wearing these ties tomorrow, and I owe you a little bit.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I think before
What's a
this
brother
visit's
thing?
over, we're going to hear some more. I want to hear one of the things that you wrote. He bragged all about your writing, and you did
got
another
to.
song.
Yeah, you got to.
What a great song.
Oh, thanks.
That's really good. Where's Rhonda Vincent? I know you're in
Hi,
here
Bill.
somewhere.
Hello.
Speaking of great songs, you're going to do a bluegrass version of an old, I say an Ernest Tubbs song, because it was the first time I ever heard it was by
Tubbs.
Ernest Tubbs.
It is, yeah, Ernest Tubb. I have to say, I learned it from Bobby Osborne, though,
Yeah.
because Bobby and Sonny cut the song.
He's our teacher, huh?
Yeah, they were our teachers. However, I always think now that Ernest Tubb was my grandfather's, or our grandfather's, favorite artist.
Yeah.
His name was Charlie Thompson. He was a veteran of World War II and was in the Philippines. And I didn't understand until Darren and I figured this out, because every time Grandpa would go by the jukebox, he played Filipino Baby. So just figuring that out. And this song is it's a drinking song that I'm going to sing, but I always say it talks about what happens when you drink too much. So there's a lesson learned, and Grandpa might have taken a nip or two also.
I was thinking about you, but yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, how about them Redskins?
Well, come up and,
right.
and lay it on us. And
All
while
right.
you're doing that, Bobby Osborne, she said she learned it from the Osborne brothers. I imagine nearly everybody in this room has learned something from the Osbornes. Speaking of learning, and this is kind of getting a little off the track, but it's not totally. You are involved with a school in Kentucky, like a college you go to after you graduate high school, that teaches bluegrass music, right?
Mainly,
Magic. The magic of TV.
why wouldn't I give one of these to start? Hey, any sound coming out of it now? I can't hear that. Anyway,
they're hearing you.
What was I talking about? I teach the mandolin most of the time, and I teach kids that what interested me got my interest in trying to be a teacher was the traditional part of it. I came up in the days of, like Ricky was talking about, Monroe, Flat and Skaggs, Stanley Brothers, and so that's the only way I've stuck with that all my life, and it's the only way I know how to do anything is the traditional way. And I really feel like I came along in the days of the premier days. I was telling you this yesterday. I feel like I came along in the premier days of country music and bluegrass too. So, but that has turned out to be a great thing over there for me. But the kids that come there, they're interested in the traditional way. They want to learn how to play the mandolin like I do. Some of them want to learn some things that Bill Monroe did on the mandolin, and so that's my job to teach them. I used to not like to get people that can't, that don't even have a mandolin or know how to tune one, But I do kind of request that they have an instrument with them and at least a pick and but I really enjoy learning that the trouble with new students this day and time is trying to learn how to play instruments and sing bluegrass music. They don't know any of the tunes, the old fiddle tunes. They don't know anything about that right there, those tunes, because they've just not heard them. They weren't born in the days I was where that's what you heard most of all the time. And but I know a lot of those, and some of them like some of the tunes, and I teach them tunes right there, note for note. It's a 1 hour class, one-on-one. We sit down in my office over there, and some of them comes along, they're pretty sharp. They learn real quick, and it's a pleasure to teach those kids there. But I enjoy somebody that's just starting out because they're interested in what you're doing. They have to pay to get to come to school there, and it's a 2-year course at the college degree.
Now, if somebody watching this wants to find out about that, maybe enroll somebody that they know. Give the name of it again. How would they get in touch? They just contact you or the school? Or what?
No, they have to contact Dean Osborne. He's a cousin of mine, and so he's the director, and he's the man to contact for that. If you want to come to school there, but we teach a lot of things besides just the mandolin, guitar, fiddle, bass, dobro, vocal, song publishing, about anything that pertains to bluegrass music. Well, you can find it there. But the school is called the Kentucky Bluegrass. If I can get this right, the Kentucky Bluegrass School of Traditional and Bluegrass Music. I can't hardly remember that all the time. Anyway,
and it's actually in Hazard.
The college itself is in Hazard.
But the school's in Hyden?
The school's in Hyden, Kentucky.
In Hyden.
So, but I kind of enjoy getting the students that just don't know nothing about it. They listen to you real good. Of course, they got to pay to come there, so they don't goof around very much, I mean, but every once in a while, I'll get a guy that thinks he knows more than I do,
Rhonda, would you have been a good student of Bobby Osborne?
Absolutely.
She was one.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I'm thinking about signing up because I never dreamed all of our heroes here today. But my family, Darren and I, grew up in a musical family in northern Missouri, in Greentop, Missouri, and our family tried to emulate the harmonies that the Osbornes did and their arrangements and everything that they did. And I have to say, what a pleasure just to be able to say, Bobby Osborne is a friend, and to get an email. He'll send me an email and say, "Hello, my little all-American bluegrass girl."
Well, how about the
sweet.
all-American little bluegrass girl laying a little music on us?
All right. Inspired by Bobby Osborne, one called Drivin Nails.
My sweetheart is gone and I'm so lonely. I've been so sad and so blue. I started out drinking for pastime, driving nails in my coffin over you. I'm just driving nails in my coffin. Every time I drink a bottle of booze, I'm just driving nails in my coffin, driving those nails over you. Ever since the day that we parted, I've been so sad and so blue. I started out drinking for pastime, driving nails in my coffin over you. Oh, I'm just driving nails in my coffin. Every time I drink a bottle of booze, I'm just driving nails in my coffin, driving those nails over you. Oh. You done me wrong, you don't want me. There's nothing now I can lose. I'm just driving those nails in my coffin and worrying my darling over you. Oh, I'm just driving nails in my coffin. Every time I drink a bottle of booze, I'm just driving nails in my coffin, driving those nails over you. I'll drive on. Every time I drink a bottle of booze, I'm just driving nails in my coffin, driving those nails over you. Yes, I'm driving those nails over you.
Bobby, I believe that's A+, don't you?
Yeah, I used to sing the same key she did.
I said, Bobby did it right there. He's a crazy man.
No brag, just fact.
He's crazy.
That's terrific.
You think Floyd Tillman would elect her a raise for that?
Did he do that song?
He wrote it.
Oh, he did? I didn't realize that.
Who did?
I recorded it too with Bob Wills' band.
Floyd Tillman?
Floyd Tillman, yeah. I didn't realize
My dad
that.
loved Floyd Tillman.
You recorded with the Bob Wills Band?
8 of the original Bob Wills' band. Did 26 sides with them.
You've done everything, haven't you? I mean, you're an amazing man.
Well, got away with some of it.
Larry Cordle
Hey,
turned the world upside down. No, you can't hide from this. You got over into country music and stirred up quite a little hornet's nest a few years ago.
It needed
He
stirred.
wrote and recorded a song called Murder on Music Road.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
They've renamed it now. It's Merger on Music Road. Hey, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's what we thought at the time, so. And it's more appropriate now, actually, than it was then. So,
Prophetic. Yeah, you were prophesying,
you know,
son.
I'm like Isaiah or something, you know. I
You
saw
had a co-writer on that, didn't you?
Larry Shell, one of the
Yeah,
greatest.
Larry Shell.
He could have had another one if he'd asked.
Probably could have had a bunch of them.
I tell you, there's a bunch of people in agreement on that. Yeah.
Were you trying to make a statement, really? I mean, you did.
I'll tell you the truth. I was getting ready to make a record, you know, and Larry called me just as he would do from time to time, and just we had an office together, you know, down there on 18th, and he said, "I've got a great song idea for us," and I could see him coming unglued while he was saying it, you know, even though I was 25 miles away, and I'd already had the songs picked out for the record, but I said, well, so I kind of wasn't in the mood for writing songs, but I said, well, what was it? You know, what is it? And he said, son, it's called Murder on Music Row. And I said, oh man, was it about killing country music? And he said, that's exactly it, you know. So the very next time we got together, we wrote the thing. And, you know, and playing it, I played it a couple of times in town. One time, Carl and I were working out here at the Bluebird, you know, and I played it, and it got such a overwhelming thing when the chorus came around. And then I'd had Elle and some boys together. We was trying to get the Lonesome Standard Time thing going again. And we did it at the Station Inn, you know. We'd already was getting ready to make the record. And I said to Terry and these guys, I said, man, you know, I've already done this out here at the Bluebird. And we just worked it up and played it down at the Station Inn, you know. It was the same thing. The whole roof came off that thing when we got to the hook of it. So we decided we'd put it on that record. It wasn't a bluegrass song, but I guessed correctly that bluegrass fans were real country music fans as well. So, you know, a lot of luck. And
Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, ever think that George Strait and Alan Jackson would cut it like they did?
Well, actually, I did not, because I just didn't think anybody would touch anything like that. You know, Carl told me I would. Carl told me I would never work again. Like, well, you know, I wasn't working much anyway.
Pretty well panned out.
And, you know, he was exactly right. I mean, no, I didn't. Really didn't think anybody else would do it. And, you know, Irv Woolsey, who was George Strait's manager, heard our little record of it. As he came to town, at least that's what he told me, that he heard, what's the guy's name? Carl P. Mayfield, who had a competing radio station with Jerry House and those fellas. Carl P. kind of made an issue of the whole song. He decided he'd made a website and all this stuff, you know. He started playing the thing, and then they started editing these interviews together to where everybody sounded like it was at one another's throats, you know. And Herb, I guess, heard it one morning, told George he found him a song he wanted him to listen to. And when George heard it, I guess he called Alan and said, hey, I got us a... That's how you win Song of the Year, you know. That's just the only way I know how to do it.
Well, it's quite a story, man, and quite a song, and an awful lot of people identified with it. You're not gonna do that one today with the band, are you?
No, I just wanted you to know I wrote it.
He's gonna run for Comedian of the Year next year, yeah. How about a song out of Larry Cordle? Oh, and Carl Jackson's gonna help out.
I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna let him.
Give him his big break.
Yeah.
You'll never work in this town again, pal.
You never work.
Before we go too far, I want to do it right now, but At some point, I want you to talk about all the guys in this band. This band is incredible.
Oh, my
They are
goodness,
just
they sure are.
terrific.
They're amazing.
Did you kind of put the band together?
Yep. These were my A-list of, I mean, there's a lot of great musicians in this town and in Bluegrass, but none no better than these guys here, you know, and they love traditional music, but they can play anything with anybody, you know. These guys are the best, and they all showed up, and I'm so glad they did.
We're all glad they did. Yeah, guys. All right, Cord, lay it on us.
Hey, let me say something before we get going. Is that all right?
You're going to anyway.
You know, I've said this a lot of time in interviews and stuff around, but I want to publicly say thanks to my old friend Ricky Skaggs that I was raised with for believing in me and getting me in the music business. He thought I could do this before I did.
Shoot, son.
And it meant a lot to me, Ricky.
Thank you, buddy.
We've had a lot of different goings-on over the years, but I wanted you to know that.
Oh, thank you, Larry. We was raised about 1.5 miles from one another, Cordell, Kentucky, you know, and his mom carried the mail for years, and Grandpa before that, and they had a store. You know, we just grew up with each other's families. My mom and dad loved his mom and dad, and we all went to church together, and you know, and played and sung together.
One of my favorite memories is Ricky's mom and dad singing with your mom and dad.
Oh Lord, that was heaven.
Well, the first times he took me up there and we went to church with him. That was awesome.
Yeah.
What's in the water up there in that part of Kentucky?
Sulfur.
I'm gonna go home and put some in mine. Well, it just seems like you shake a tree up there, and a great singer and writer and musician falls out.
I know it. I don't.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just God just did it that way. You know, I don't know. I think because of so much poverty and so much negativity, you know, you'll never amount to nothing. I mean, you know, you grow up. Now, my mom and dad never was that way, and I'm sure Larry's mom and dad wasn't that way. But there's a lot of people, you know, that they grow up under a lot of depression, you know, and sometimes it really takes the human spirit to just rise up and say, I'm not going to live like that. You know, I'm going to make something out of myself. You know, I'm not going to be on welfare and food stamps all my life, and I'm not going to work in the coal mines, although that's a great thing. But you know, people up there, you know, they had to work hard for anything, you know, and my mom and dad, they all worked hard. My dad taught me to work hard, you know, and so I think people just rise up out of the ashes of you know, depression and naysaying and all that, and just say, well, you know, but then that opens the door for a lot of pride, you know, to come in, which is a bad thing. I mean, you know, you can get prideful and big-headed about yourself once you make something, and so, you know, that always has to be at the cross. You know, you gotta always lay that down, you know, too. So it's just, you know, our lives are souls under construction always, you know.
Yes.
You know, we're always being taught, you know, always, you know, every time I'm around these great elders that I look up to, I learn something from all the time. And it behooves me to be an elder, a middle-aged elder, but to, you know, to young ones that come up that, you know, that I can be an influence on. So, but that's the way we grew up, ain't it, son?
That's it. That's it in a nutshell, you know. And I never knew I was poor, really, because I had a lot of love around me, and the knowledge and the that my parents gave me of this backbone and stuff they gave me about, you know, you can do anything you want. You just got to stick to it, you know.
Yes,
you just
sir.
got to stick to it.
Yeah.
And that was prevalent a lot up there.
Yeah.
You know, that was really powerful up in that country.
That's right.
I really need to tell you this. I'm going to do one of Bill's old pieces here, but I really feel being led to tell you this story. Tom Ewing called me and wanted to know if I would fill in for the Bluegrass, play guitar for Bill Monroe. Well, I wasn't even really nervous about it because he'd been playing with us a lot at the Bell Cove Club, you know, and everything. I thought, oh man, I can actually say I was a bluegrass boy, you know. So I go to this place. He tells me where they're going to be to play. It's in town here. And when I get there, Tater Tate comes up to me and he says, Larry, do you have a hat? And I says, well, no, Tater, I don't have a hat, you know. That's all right, I've got Tom's. And I said, well, you know, I don't wear hats, man. I don't. He said, well, you know how that old man is?
That's
so,
Tater.
You know, I had pretty good clothes on. I wanted to do good for him. So I went in the bathroom, and it was in a huge box this big. And I took this thing out, and I put it up on my head, and it hit me about mid-ear. So I looked at myself in the mirror, and I thought, man, I don't know. I turned my head. My head turned inside the hat now. So I got a lot of paper towels out of the, you know, and I stuck them up in the hat. And then I put the hat back down on my head and fixed it up a little bit, you know. And, man, I got to thinking, what if I walk out there and all this stuff falls down out of this hat, you know? So I decided against the hat. I took the hat off, put it in the box, you know, and I went and told Tater, I said, Tater, man, I just can't. I can't, you know. I said, I can't. I look at myself and I can't make myself do it. So I went and played the whole show with him, and he never said a word to me about it, ever. Never said a word to me about it. So
The hatless bluegrass
the only
boy.
hatless bluegrass boy in existence.
Man, that's...
I want to play one of Mr. Monroe's old songs, and another thing, he told me one night, he said, you know you're not doing that right. I thought I was really wearing it out, you know. And I said, really? And he said, no, sir, you're not doing that right. I said, well, I must have got it off of Ricky or something, you know. He said,
blame it on me.
He said, you surely did. You didn't get it off of me that way.
Throwed me under the bus with my teacher. Yeah.
I'll tell you what it was later. How's that go, Stuart Duncan?
So since you've been gone, sweetheart of mine, can't you hear me calling? A million times I've loved you best. I mistreated you, Lord, and I'm sorry. Come back to me, it's my request. A big mistake, what caused it all? If you come back, sunshine will follow. To stay away would be my fault. Sweetheart of mine, can't you hear me calling? A million times I've loved you best. I mistreated you, Lord, and I'm sorry. Come back to me, it's my request. Shining. When I looked up, I saw your face. Sweetheart of mine, can't you hear me call? A million times I've loved you best. I mistreated you, Lord, and I'm sorry. Come come back to me. It's my request.
Yes, sir.
Larry Cordle and Carl Jackson. I got to tell you, while y'all were doing that, Ricky leaned over in my ear. What'd you say?
That's why we love it.
So that's why we love it. Yeah, that's fine.
Bill, I recorded that song with Monroe. That was the last session he did for Columbia. I recorded that song, and I noticed he did it in G. That's where I sang it, except we was tuned to fret high. I had to hold 1 foot up to hit that thing.
Yeah, they didn't have these little things back then.
No.
You know, that you could stick on your instrument. And
sometimes you get up, do 2 frets high.
yeah, I asked Earl one time. I said, "What did y'all tune to?" He said, "We tuned to Lester's guitar." He said, "Wherever it come out of the case is what we tuned to." It hit a G, and that's what we tuned to. He said, "We sung Sec to death." You know? Yeah, Curly Seckler, the tenor singer, said, "We sung Sec to death." I wish he could have been here today. Oh, that would have been so great. Yeah.
One of the great ladies that it's been my pleasure and all of our pleasures to know over the years is Miss Ramona Jones. Married to Grandpa Jones for many, many years. Such a delightful, lovely lady. Did Grandpa consider himself bluegrass? Did he put a label on his music?
No, he really didn't want to be called bluegrass. But he loved the music and all that. But I think he was more like old-time music and old songs and all that.
He never did do the Earl Scruggs type picking
No,
on the banjo.
he said he couldn't do that. He said you can't do both. That's what he said. But I think Earl proved that to be wrong. but he said you can't do both styles, you know. So he did the frailing type. And, you know, he learned frailing from Cousin Emmy. I don't know if anybody knows about Cousin Emmy from West Virginia. He said he was working in Wheeling, WVA. Yeah, WWVA, and he said Cousin Emmy was there, and he said he went to her and said, "Would you teach me how to do that frailing style?" And she said, "Well, I will if you'll go get you a banjo." He didn't own a banjo then; he was playing guitar, and he said he did. He went and got an old banjo called a White Lady. Was the make.
That's a good one to get.
Yeah. I don't know. He got it at a pawn shop, but
that's a good one.
he said he went back and told her, "Well, now I want you to teach me how to frail," and she taught him. So he always gave her credit for that.
Do you play any other instrument other than the fiddle? I know you played the fiddle with him all
Well,
those years.
I played
guitar,
mandolin quite a bit, and I used to play guitar. I think there's a lot of film out here of me playing guitar for Grandpa. I'm not really good on the guitar or fiddle either, really. I would like to tell you where I got this fiddle, if you have time for me to do that. John Hartford, everybody knows John Hartford. When we played a show with John Hartford one time, and he said, "Would you like to have a fiddle like the one Roy Acuff has and Vassar Clemens has?" And he had one. And I said, "Well, of course I would. I don't deserve it, but I'd love to have one." And he said, "Okay, I'll get you one." So he called these two people. I'll tell you later their names. And about 3 months later, John called me on the phone and said, "Your fiddle is here, and if you have time, I'll bring it out and show you." And he come out to the house and played it all afternoon, this fiddle. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it because John Hartford, I wouldn't have it if it wasn't for John Hartford being such a good friend. And I don't deserve it yet. I wish I could play it like John did, but anyway.
Whose head is on that?
I'm sorry?
Whose head is on that?
It's me.
Is that you? Well, I thought that was your hairstyle.
It's supposed to be me. And somebody said, you want to put on the fiddle, you want to put your hit. Well, I never had a hit, a hit record. So I said, well, I'm from Indiana, so just put Back Home Again in Indiana. And that's what's on it. Back Home Again in Indiana. That's what they put on it. But I'm so proud of it. I wish I could play it more and do better with it. But I will always treasure it because of John getting it for me. You know?
Yeah.
He was a dear friend.
What is the title of this fiddle tune that you're going to play? That's the longest word I ever saw.
It's chinkapin. It's like a nut, you know, and the nut chinkapins. Old-timey people knew
But
about.
it's not spelled like that, or at least on this sheet it's...
I don't know how you spell it. I
They
wouldn't
put it on
attempt
here,
to
it's
spell
got a
it.
Q in the middle of it somewhere. Chinkulapin.
Is that over in East Virginia? That little island in East
You know,
Virginia or a
old-
coast? Or...
You know, old
Yeah, we had
Fiddletons-
them all the time.
Yeah.
Old Fiddletons have a lot of names anyway, and they all, some people call it crooked stovepipe. That's another name for it.
Well, how about laying a little bit of it on us?
Well,
on the
I'll
John
try.
Hartford fiddle there.
You go with me.
I will.
I'll fall over a wire or something.
I had the pleasure of having Ramona and Grandpa as regular members of the cast on a television show I did years ago. You were wired, Ronnie. I think you just unwired yourself. I'll save my story for later. Okay, Ramona.
Okay, I'm going to play crooked stovepipe or chinkapin.
Ramona Jones. That's just terrific.
I'll step
Thank
on
you
the
for
wire.
sharing that. Okay, be careful
I'll fall over
there.
the wires.
Ricky, while Stuart Duncan was playing that,
that's some fun
banjo
drop thumb
part
right there, son.
I said, is that frailing? And you said it's clawhammer. What's the difference in frailing and clawhammer?
Same thing, isn't it?
I guess it's the same thing. I mean, drop thumb style is what he was doing. So it's where you can play more notes, you know, off of the second string, third string, and with your thumb you drop down and. But it you know, clawhammer style. I think it's just maybe a different part of the country. Some people call it frailing, but it's Doc Watson was a great clawhammer banjo player, drop thumb. He had a lick that I've never heard in my life. He had the most unique lick that he played. And
is that pretty much what String Bean did?
Yeah.
String Bean played a little more like what Grandpa did, I guess.
Frailing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
frailing,
think they were
clawhammer,
together
but
so much and played together, so
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they did sound alike. You know.
While we're talking to Ramona about Grandpa, what a segue this is going to be, because Sam Bush has got a song that is
I do?
Yes, you do. That was a legendary Grandpa Jones song.
I thought he had a grandpa story.
Well, he probably does. We could probably go around the room and get a lot
Everybody
of
has a grandpa story.
I was
That's
going to
right.
ask you, are there as many grandpa stories as there are Bill Monroe stories in this group?
I think so. I've heard so many of them since Grandpa's been gone, too. I wanted to tell you one story, if I have time.
Please.
One time, Grandpa and I were going south, going to play a date down toward Atlanta, and it was really cold. It was turning so severely cold and started snowing. And as we got almost down there, he saw a hitchhiker. And he said, I think we should stop and let this guy, he looked old and had something on his back. And he said, I think we should pick him up because he's going to freeze to death. So we stopped and picked him up. And you know what he had in that sack? He had a pig.
Only Grandpa could have done that.
But this might be one Grandpa story hadn't been told. I don't know.
Never heard it.
But anyway, we traveled the rest of the way to Atlanta with a pig in the back seat. And it didn't smell too good.
You can't hurt Ham.
You can't hurt Ham. Sam, come lay a little bit of that song on us.
Should I?
Yes, you should. You certainly should. Carl, you getting paid double for a...
I'll tell you what, this early morning tenor ain't...
I believe old Sam Bush will make it as a musician, don't you?
Oh, I believe you will.
Sam Bush is a little unhappy as we're right here, though, because he's a big St. Louis Cardinal fan, and they just lost the World Series. You want to talk about that, Sam?
You just love to talk about the Cardinals losing the World Series, don't you? Well, the way I look at it, Bill, they made it to the World Series. That's right. I think that was a cut to us, buddy. Yeah, let's do this song, especially for Miss Ramona Jones today. Glad you're here. And of course, the lovely and talented Carl Jackson will be singing.
Yes.
I've traveled o'er this country wide, seeking fortune fair. Up and down both coastlines, I've traveled everywhere. From Portland east to Portland west and all along the line. I'm going now to the place that's best, that old hometown of mine. Oh, 8 more miles to Louisville will come into my view. 8 more miles on this old road, and I'll never more be blue. I knew someday that I'd come back and do it from the start. 8 more miles to Louisville, the hometown of my heart. Now you might have a gal somewhere that you like best of all. Mine comes down from Louisville, she's long and she's tall. She's the kind you just can't find her rambling through the land. I'm on my way this very day to win her heart and hand. Oh, 8 more miles to Louisville will come into my view. 8 more miles on this old road and I'll never more be blue. I knew someday that I'd come back and do it from the start. 8 more miles to Louisville, the hometown of my heart. I can picture in my mind a place we'll call our home. A humble little plot for two we'll never have to roam. The place that's right for that love slide is in them Bluegrass hills, where gently flows the Ohio by a place called Louisville. Oh, 8 more miles to Louisville will come into my view. 8 more miles on this old road and knew someday that I'd come back. I knew it from the start. 8 more miles to Louisville, the hometown of my heart. Coming to my view. 8 more miles on this old road, and I'll never more be blue. I knew someday that I'd come back, I knew it from the start. 8 more miles to Louisville, the hometown of my heart.
Ramona, did Grandpa write 8 More Miles to Louisville?
I'm sorry.
Did Grandpa write that song?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got it.
I was
What do you
gonna
think
say
he wrote it
about? Sam
Oh.
Bush.
Grandpa and Ramona's youngest daughter, Alicia, was dating this fellow that she's married to now, of course, they have a couple of children. But she was telling me one time that they were just dating. Her boyfriend came in and said, "You got to hear this record." It was my record of 8 More Miles, see? And she said to him right quick, said, "Well, my daddy wrote that."
Well, he wrote a lot of good songs.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of gospel songs too. People don't think of him doing religious songs, but he did. He liked them, and he wrote a lot.
He was part of the Browns Ferry Four.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Great
a lot
music.
Of, a lot of people don't realize, because he was known for his comedy, what a serious musician he was and singer. He loved the old songs. He wrote great songs. And I remember him talking about the Hee Haw Quartet, how particular he was about all the parts being right and everything being in tune. He was really amazing to us when we were growing up.
You know, the Browns Ferry Four was Delmore Brothers, Rabin and Rabin. And Alton Delmore and Merle Travis, and Grandpa was made up the Browns Ferry Four.
Yeah. Hate to pause, but we got to for a couple of minutes so they can change the tape reels or whatever they do these days. We'll be back in a minute.
Good first segment, everybody. Great job.